Have you ever wondered what it feels like to take your final breath? Not with fear, but with genuine curiosity about what awaits on the other side of that threshold we all must eventually cross. Tonight, we're going to explore one of humanity's oldest questions through the lens of modern science, and what we'll discover might surprise you, comfort you, and fundamentally change how you think about your own mortality. As you settle into this quiet moment, breathing deeply, letting the tensions of the day dissolve into the darkness around you, know that we're about to embark on a journey that combines rigorous scientific research with the deepest mysteries of human existence. This isn't about religion or belief systems. This is about what actual scientific investigation reveals about consciousness, death, and the possibility of something beyond. The question of what happens when we die has haunted philosophers, comforted the grieving, and inspired countless works of art and literature throughout human history. But only in recent decades have we developed the technology and methods to investigate this question scientifically. Brain imaging equipment, advanced resuscitation techniques, and systematic collection of data from thousands of people who have died and returned are painting a picture that challenges everything materialist science once told us about consciousness and death. So let your mind relax. Let your body sink into comfort. Together, we're going to explore territories that exist at the very edge of what science can measure, where the physical world gives way to something that might be even more fundamental. We'll move slowly, gently, through discoveries that suggest death might not be the ending you've always feared, but rather a doorway into something vast and beautiful, beyond our everyday comprehension. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast forest at twilight. Behind you stretch the open fields of your life. Faces you've loved, laughter you've shared, meals, mornings, moments that made you who you are, all bathed in a golden afterglow. Ahead lies the forest, mysterious, yes, but not unkind. From within the trees, a faint music drifts, and small lanterns flicker between trunks like gentle beacons. For most of human history, this forest, death, was thought impenetrable. But now, for the first time, science has begun sketching its edges. Your brain, this 3-pound constellation of roughly 86 billion neurons, coordinates every thought, every memory, every pattern that feels like you. For centuries, scientists assumed that when those patterns cease, consciousness simply ends, like a candle blown out. But what if the candle flame isn't consciousness itself? What if the flame only reveals a light that was always there? Modern research, from brain imaging at the moment of cardiac arrest to thousands of near-death accounts, suggests that awareness may not vanish instantly. Instead, it may transform, unfolding in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. Let's explore what science, medicine, and experience are now uncovering about that final frontier. As the heart falters and oxygen fades, the brain doesn't always go dark. In animal and limited human studies, scientists like Dr. Jimo Borjigin at the University of Michigan found bursts of high-frequency brain activity. The gamma waves, typically linked to integrative consciousness, in the seconds after cardiac arrest. The dying brain, it seems, may produce a final synchronized symphony. At the same time, biochemistry goes through a breathtaking surge. Endorphins, your body's natural opioids, flood the system, bathing neural pathways in warmth and relief. Serotonin and dopamine rise, producing calm, meaning, even euphoria. To some researchers, these reactions might be nature's way of easing the transition. There's also the much debated possibility of a natural release of dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, an endogenous psychedelic some call the spirit molecule. Dr. Rixie Trassman's pioneering research suggested that DMT could appear in heightened states like birth, deep dreaming, or death itself. Experiences described during DMT states intense clarity, timelessness, encounters with luminous beings often mirror near-death accounts. Whether or not DMT truly surges at life's end, the pattern is striking. Instead of fading into nothing, consciousness may crescendo, producing the most profound perceptual experiences a human can have. Even more curious, in documented near-death cases, such as neurosurgeon Dr. Eben Alexander, awareness has been reported during periods when cortical activity, by scans, was absent, when the brain's usual filters go offline. Could consciousness itself expand, no longer confined to biological limits? Meditations and psychedelic research shows something similar. When people report expansive awareness, certain brain networks, especially the default mode network tied to the ego, quiet down. It's as if the brain's normal function is not to create consciousness, but to constrain it into a narrow beam, suited for daily survival. When those constraints loosen, awareness can feel oceanic. Pause for a moment. Perhaps dying isn't consciousness ending, but consciousness widening. In hospices and hospitals around the world, caregivers witness something extraordinary. Terminal lucidity. A person lost to dementia or brain injury suddenly becomes clear, articulate, loving, moments or hours before death. They recognize children, recall songs, speak with lucidity that shouldn't be possible given their damaged brains. Biologist Dr. Michael Knob documented hundreds of such cases. Patients with extensive brain atrophy have lucid, meaningful conversations right before passing. How can this be? If memory and thought depend entirely on neural integrity, then such coherence should be impossible. Some scientists propose metabolic or neurochemical flickers, a last coordinated pulse, but others, like neuropsychiatrist Dr. Peter Fenwick, suggest that the brain might act less as the producer of mind and more as its receiver. When the receiver weakens, perhaps the signal comes through unfiltered, revealing a consciousness not destroyed but freed. Families describe these moments as gifts. One final, "I love you," one last shared memory. Clinicians describe them as humbling reminders that even near its end, the human mind defies full explanation. Beyond near-death accounts are shared death experiences. When healthy people present at a death report, feeling part of the transition themselves. Dr. Raymond Moody, who first coined near-death experience, has also cataloged hundreds of these moments. Rooms filling with radiant light, sensations of elevation, a sudden stillness steeped in peace. Sometimes multiple witnesses describe the same thing. A hospice nurse named Sarah once reported that, as her patient, Michael took his final breath. Golden light filled the room. She saw and felt his awareness lift, joined by an image of his late wife reaching out. Michael's daughter, on the opposite side of the bed, later described the same scene independently. These stories aren't proof it's in the laboratory sense, but when repeated across witnesses and cultures, they invite awe. Even skeptics agree. Something happens at the threshold that softens grief and shapes meaning. Perhaps at that moment, consciousness becomes communal, an opening rather than a severing, where love briefly bridges the worlds. To move from anecdote to experiment, Dr. Sam Parnia and colleagues launched the international Aware and Aware 2 studies. In cardiac units, hidden visual targets were placed high on shelves, visible only from the ceiling. Survivors of cardiac arrest were later interviewed to see whether anyone could accurately describe them. Results have been mixed. Only rare hits on the targets, but many reports of accurate auditory and procedural details from periods with flat EEGs and no heartbeat. One man described watching his own resuscitation from above. He recalled the exact sequence of medical actions, including a nurse placing an object on a shelf, all verified later. His EEG had shown no measurable activity at the time. The data do not prove the mind leaves the body, but they challenge the idea that consciousness ceases instantly when neurons fall silent, and they deepen a puzzle about time. People describe lengthy, complex experiences, whole life reviews, within mere minutes of clinical death. If consciousness can stretch or compress time so radically, perhaps our linear perception is only a function of biological processing. In the final days or hours, many dying people describe seeing deceased loved ones, radiant landscapes, or luminous beings of calm. These deathbed visions appear across cultures and are often accompanied by serenity rather than distress. Studies by Dr. Peter Fenwick across the UK found consistent patterns. The dying see only those already deceased, and the visions bring peace even to those previously afraid. Some include verifiable details, such as recognizing a person who, unbeknownst to them, passed away that very day. These details suggest something more than dreamlike comfort. Take Patricia, who 3 days before her death described visits from family members, including a nephew whose fatal accident her family had hidden from her. She had no way of knowing, yet named him clearly. Whether psychological or transpersonal, these visions serve a purpose nature seems to honor. They dissolve fear. Perhaps as the brain's filters dissolve, perception widens, letting in wavelengths of love and memory normally invisible to waking consciousness. Hospice workers often say their view of death changes forever after witnessing such events. They describe imperceptible shifts in atmosphere at the moment of passing, as though something subtle but enormous exhaled into a larger space. At the outer edge of scientific speculation lies an idea both daring and elegant, that consciousness might not emerge from matter at all, but be woven into the universe's deepest fabric. Physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Dr. Stuart Helmeroth proposed that consciousness involves quantum computations within microtubules inside neurons. Because quantum systems operate outside classical space-time constraints, such processes could, in theory, connect mind and the quantum foundation of reality. Quantum physics teaches that information is never lost. If aspects of consciousness are quantum in nature, the end of biological function might simply release that information back into the quantum field, the shimmering vacuum underlying space-time. Physicist Dr. Henry Stapp further suggests that consciousness plays a role in collapsing quantum possibilities into definite realities, making awareness a primary ingredient of the universe rather than an afterthought of biology. None of this proves personal survival, but it elegantly reframes the question. If consciousness and matter are intertwined at the quantum level, then the death of the body might resemble not destruction, but delocalization, awareness rejoining the field from which it arose, like a wave returning to its ocean. Across disciplines, patterns begin to converge. Neurochemistry shows heightened activity at death's edge. Case studies show perception beyond expected brain states. Terminal lucidity defies degeneration. Shared and deathbed experiences reveal coherence and love. Quantum theory keeps open the possibility that awareness is fundamental. None of these alone prove survival, and science doesn't traffic in certainties. but together, they form a mosaic that challenges materialist finality. As psychiatrist Dr. Bruce Grayson notes, after decades studying near-death experiences, the transformative effects are the most convincing evidence of all. People return changed, less fearful, more compassionate, profoundly oriented toward meaning and service. If these were mere hallucinations of a dying brain, we would expect confusion, trauma, fragmentation. Instead, survivors describe clarity, coherence, beauty beyond words, and a conviction that love, not annihilation, stands at the heart of existence. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a child playing in a walled garden. The sunlight is warm, the flowers radiant, the air filled with laughter. When evening nears, a gentle voice calls from beyond the gate, familiar, loving. The child hesitates. The garden is wonderful. But home holds a larger world. A table ready, stories waiting, rest at last. Perhaps death is like this, not annihilation, but a return, not judgment, but homecoming. Or think of a wave moving toward shore. For a while it feels separate, a crest, a form with its own rhythm and sound. But when it merges with the beach, the water does not vanish. It rejoins what it always was, the ocean itself. If consciousness is that wave, then death may be less an ending than a remembering. The atoms of your body have been part of stars, mountains, oceans, and hearts before you. You are the universe noticing itself, learning to love through human eyes. When the pattern shifts, perhaps the awareness behind it continues, music persisting even after one instrument falls silent. As we come to rest at the end of this exploration, let these ideas settle like snowflakes on still water. Science cannot yet tell us exactly what happens after we die, but the evidence invites wonder rather than fear. Whether consciousness continues or transforms, your existence, this fleeting luminous awareness, is a miracle beyond measure. If awareness does persist, then every kindness and every moment of love ripple outward through dimensions we cannot yet map. And if it does not, then love still remains the most luminous use of a human life. So breathe deeply. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench. See again that forest at twilight, the golden fields behind you, the soft lanterns ahead. If sleep comes, welcome it like an old friend. If thoughts arise, let them drift by like clouds across a wider sky. You have nothing to solve tonight, only the mystery to rest within. And maybe, when your own time comes, to cross that final threshold, you will find what others have whispered back from the edge. That what we call the end is only the next beginning, and that the light you have always known was waiting for you all along. Thank you for spending this quiet hour with Sleepy Science Haven, where science and wonder meet with open hands. Sleep deeply, dream kindly, and remember, you are stardust that learned to love, and that alone is miraculous beyond words.